I've come to the understanding that political leaders, presidents of countries, are really supposed to be brilliant actors. And when we're talking about them being actors, they have to be people of action. They have to make moves. They shouldn't think too hard before making a move. They should just go in and make that move. So they have to be people of action. And that action has to be well thought out. So it has to be someone who's intelligent, who's smart, but who can also act. Besides just coming up with an action, he should be able to act. Like act as in theater, not just act as in come up with some course of action, but he should be able to act. He should be convincing. He or she should have the ability to convince people by way of their actions. So in general, they just have to be brilliant actors. So that's why there's so much theater within the political sphere. You see a lot of the things that happen is just theater. And I believe that especially when they're faced with the cameras and, they got a press conference, it's a moment for them to shine because they're in the spotlight. So he's already thought out everything he's going to say, and he's going to try to make it as dramatic as possible. That's how he's able to convince people by way of his actions, whatever that action is. And, I was just thinking about how Barack Obama, the US president, he was actually trained by a particular actor.
He goes, "Do I remind you of Obama?" And I said, "Well, yeah, you do." He goes, "He mimicked me. He followed me for years, and they wanted me to train him and teach him how to act." This is Harry Lennox's words. I've got some of my crew here. Please correct me if I'm wrong. And what was the word? Like an educated, Southside educated African American.
Put your crew member as a witness on. This is national news.
Oh, sir.
Nathan, this was during a break. Tell us what Lennox said.
Yeah, so exactly what Manka said. He called me, Barack Obama. He said, "I got a rat bastard." He goes, "He mimicked me for years. I trained him to be a Southside educated African American black man from Chicago." That's right. He says he's known him since 1992. Spent many hours with him at his house, talking for hours.
Something. Harry Lennox has to work in Hollywood. And I really love the guy, and I hope I don't get him in trouble by revealing this. But he did say, "I know him. Probably only Michelle knows him better than I do." And he said he's very stupid. He's been taught to act like this. How long did he know he was going to be president? He said, well, he knew from 1998.
That's the guy that actually trained Obama and helped him to become a great actor, which means that every time you saw Obama up there in front and giving speeches and speaking the way that he did, that was part of the act. He was acting. So, I was thinking about what Shakespeare is said to have said. He actually wrote it, and he said, in one of his plays, that all the world is a stage, and men and women are merely actors. That's actually true. The world is a stage, and we're all actors. Except some actors are in the spotlight and they get a chance to show their skills. So it made me think of one of Shakespeare's most important characters, at least to me. I really was into the play Hamlet. For those of you who studied literature or who love to study and just read in general, yeah, Hamlet was really something to remember.
To be or not to be? That is the question. Whether it is nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles and by opposing end them?
That particular play, it had its impact on me. I couldn't stop thinking about Hamlet's actions, especially just everything that he did. I mean, this was a tragic play, obviously. You know, we know that he was trying to figure out who killed his father. So in order to do that, he pretended to be mad. He pretended to be crazy in order to fish out his enemies. This guy went out there and he caused havoc, mayhem, acting like someone that's lost it. But in so doing, a lot of tragic things happened. But I remember how we would speak of Hamlet as the guy who feigned his madness. That was the word that we used to describe the situation. We say that Hamlet feigned his madness. And I remember one of the characters, I think it was Polonius, who said, you know, there's method in this guy's madness. Because he did see that Hamlet was kind of acting like he was losing it, He was convinced that Hamlet was crazy. But he saw that there was an intention. There was a method. There was a level of intelligence in his madness, which was probably Polonius almost uncovering the truth of what Hamlet was doing. So as I remember Hamlet, I also remember Dambudzo Marechera, the guy who wrote House of Hunger. You know, he was a very, very interesting character to me. And people said, you know, he had lost it. As intelligent as he was, they said he was somewhat crazy. Like he had schizophrenia. Like he lost his mind. Something just wasn't right about the way that he was living. That he had a few screws loose up in his brain, in his mind, whatever. But I feel he was a very misunderstood fellow. Dambudzo was. And I know there's this particular picture. I don't know if it's still on the internet. It's got Dambudzo Marechera. It's got Robert Mugabe. And the president today, Emerson Mnangagwa. He's also in that picture. It's a very interesting picture because you can tell both Emerson Mnangagwa, that president, and Robert Mugabe, the president then, you could tell that both these men wanted to be around Dambudzo. Even in that madness. I mean, of course, they'd just gone to pay their condolences because at that time, Dambudzo's sister had been killed in a bomb blast. Those were the apartheid days, and you know, a lot of crazy things were happening in those years, and she just so happened to be killed, unfortunately, at that time. Very tragic. But yeah, that's one point where you see both Dambudzos together and Robert Mugabe, and of course you had the security details surrounding them and so forth. But it's an interesting picture. But I say this all to have people really thinking hard on the things that are happening in our country and think about what the solutions might be, what it is that you could do at an individual level just to improve your own life as you go through. What do you learn from what is happening? What does it teach you about who you are and what you need to be doing to improve your life? What are you learning from the actions of others, the mistakes that others have made? What are you learning from it? Everybody is fighting for survival, including people in positions of power. They too fight for survival, just like you fight to go through tomorrow, the day after, all the things that you do, whether you become desperate. Everybody gets desperate. But I just thought about that, and I think there's other stories of other people that may have used the idea that maybe they're losing their mind in order to achieve a particular aim, to direct people's attention to a weakness that they appear to have when actually it's not a weakness. It's actually a strength. They're turning a weakness into a strength because they know something that you don't know. So what you may be looking at as dementia could be a masterstroke of political theater. Because you have to understand that, this political thing, this is a high stakes game of power where appearances can deceive. So what could appear as vulnerability could be a calculated deception, a modern day Hamlet. Yeah. Those guys that will feign madness to expose their enemies. Yeah. When you look into history, you'll find that, from ancient Rome to biblical times, you'll find leaders that have used this tactic to survive, to conquer, to expose any treachery. So the people of Zimbabwe could easily be witnessing a similar strategy. Machiavellian play. Remember the guy Machiavelli in that book, The Prince? Very interesting book. Yeah. Weakness can become the ultimate weapon. Is this a carefully orchestrated performance? Are we truly seeing the signs of a failing mind or the cunning of a seasoned strategist? I feel like one cannot afford to relax when it comes to the political games because you could easily fall into a trap. Yeah, anyhow, so those are just some of the thoughts that were going through my head in the last few hours. Just wanted to share that. Peace.